Formula One is making the same mistake that NASCAR made nearly 15 years ago. NASCAR boomed in the early to mid 2000s. It was one of the most popular sports in America. They had 20 million people tuning in to watch the Daytona 500. But NASCAR got greedy and they started to chase the casual fan, which was ultimately their biggest downfall. NASCAR had more Fortune 500 companies than any other entity outside of Congress. They had drivers hosting SNL. They were on late night shows. They were on national ad campaigns. They were in music videos. They were rock stars. They were the biggest thing going. But then NASCAR started to slide as they started to chase that casual fan. First came multiple changes to the chase and the implementation of the chase even. And then there was a car of tomorrow. And then there was moving races off of traditional dates and out of the Southeast. Everything that NASCAR's core liked, NASCAR went against in that effort to chase those casual fans. Formula One is making that same mistake now, and we're just watching it happen in real time because we've seen the blueprint for this downfall. Formula One teams have never had more sponsors than they currently do, and McLaren's in a contest to hoard all of them from everyone at this point. Drive to Survive turned these drivers into rock stars basically overnight. Danny Ricciardo was at the Met Gala and Anne Hathaway knew who he was. That never would have happened 5 to 6 years ago. These drivers go anywhere in the world and they're getting mobbed. They're on late night shows from country to country. Anywhere they go, they're the biggest thing that's talked about at that moment. They led SportsCenter this past weekend in America. NASCAR hardly even gets a mention on SportsCenter anymore. And while all of that is happening, Formula One continues to abandon their core fan base. Sprint races have been introduced and more will likely be introduced next year in an effort to make race weekends more exciting and capture the attention of the casual fan. Traditional races in Europe are being moved to America and the Middle East in an effort to chase that dollar and those more casual fans. Over-the-top driver introductions have been introduced recently this year and more will be introduced throughout the season in an effort to make things more exciting and build that excitement up at the racetrack. The focus is less on racing now and more on what celebrities and influencers we can get to the racetrack. NASCAR suffered a massive collapse as they attempted to chase that casual fan, and they're still trying to rebuild from that today. While they were attempting to capture the attention of that casual fan, sponsorship fled, the core fans all abandoned the sport because it's not what they were used to watching, and they're left with basically 2 million viewers a week that now tune in, and racetracks that have gotten better in terms of attendance. But we saw it collapse, and now we're watching what NASCAR did, and Formula One's doing the same thing. It's like they're following the blueprint in terms of we need to cash in while we can. As quickly as you can blow up over like the last 4 years that Formula One has, you can come down crashing way quicker than that. And Formula One's in a really bad spot right now. You have one team absolutely dominating, with a driver that's really not that interesting, and another one that semi has a personality. On a team that a fair amount of Formula One fans don't really, care for. So while you're doing that, the hardcore fans are like, well, this sucks because we're watching a team absolutely dominate after having watched another team dominate the 8 years prior. It's not exactly the best formula here. But then at the same time, you have casual fans tuning in because they all want to relive the 2021 season once again. That's not going to happen. At least maybe not until 2026, more than likely. So now Formula One has to find out a way to try to keep that casual fan engaged until they have a new regulation change. And it's just not going to happen. The casual fan joined because they viewed Formula One as this exotic, rock star-like lifestyle. They got enamored with the championship battle in 2021. And now they're treated to Max likely winning the championship before the summer break. And they're left with this feeling of emptiness. And then whatever the next hot docuseries is on Netflix or whatever platform, they're just all going to shift over there and go to that. Formula One's in a bad spot. And hopefully they don't make the same mistakes that NASCAR did. But if they do, they can always call the suits down in Daytona and Charlotte and ask for help. Alright guys, follow me on TikTok at BreakHard, Twitter and Instagram at BreakHardBlog.